and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 1 English lesson on adjectives that compare. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with your username as well as your password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 1, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of adjectives that compare. So our chapter is adjectives that compare. Our subject is English language arts. Grade 1. And then our lessons are or is to compare pictures using comparative and superlative adjectives, and to identify comparative and superlative adjectives. So when it comes to adjectives that compare, right? It is like we are comparing adjectives. We either comparing two things to one another, or we're comparing more than two things to one another. And some adjectives, they compare people, they compare animals, places, and things. So some adjectives, it compares people, animals, places, or things, right? And comparative adjectives, it compares two people, animals, places, or things. It's like you're comparing two people or two things to one another. And when you do that, like when you're comparing two people or two animals or two places or two things to one another, then it ends in ER. And if we look at an example, it says Andy is taller than his sister, right? And it's like I was saying, you comparing two people to one another. And if we look at the sentence, Andy is taller than his sister, then we are comparing Andy's height to his sister's height, which means that Andy is taller than his sister. So if we compare, then it means that his height, right? He's more lengthier, he's more taller, right? Than what his sister is. And then we have a superlative adjective. And a superlative adjective, it compares more than two people, animals, places, or things. And since we are comparing more than one person, animal, place, or thing to one another, they need to end in est. And I say that it's a superlative adjective. And if we look at an example, right, it says he is the tallest person in his class. So he is the tallest person in his class. And we said when it comes to a comparative adjective, right, it ends in er. And we looked at an example and we said Andy is taller than his sister. And we said with superlative adjective, it compares more than two people, animals, places, or thing, and it ends in est. And we made an example where we said he is the tallest person in his class. So we said that we have comparative adjectives, right, which compares people, animals, places, or things. And then we have superlative adjectives, which also compares more than two people again, animals, places, or things. And I said that when it comes to a comparative adjective, right, then it means that we are comparing two people, places, animals, or thing, right? And it ends in er. And we said when it comes to the superlative adjective, right, we said it ends in est, and it's comparing more, or let's say two or more animals, places, things, and people. All right. And we are doing our tutorial lessons on aplusstudents.ca. Right? We're doing our tutorial lessons on aplusstudents.ca. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca. And before we go to aplusstudents.ca, we say that some adjectives compare people, animals, places, or things. And if we are comparing two people, animals, places, or things, then it is a comparative adjective and it ends in er. And then we have a superlative adjective, right, that compares more than two people, animals, places, or things, and it ends in est. All right. So we say that we're going to aplusstudents.ca, and then we're going to do or continue with our tutorial lesson. We said our chapter is adjectives that compare, and if we go into the first lesson, it says compare pictures using comparative and superlative adjectives. And we said some adjectives they compare people, animals, places, or things, and we call them comparative adjectives. And we said that we have a comparative adjectives that compares people, animals, places, or things, specifically to people, animals, places, or things. And they end in er. So we said that we are comparing two people, animals, places, or things, and it ends in er. So now, if we look at this question that says, which one is older, right? And that is usually, if we look at these two pictures, right? The one car, the purple one is more, let's say, rusty, crusty. And then the red one looks more brand new. So which means that if we were to solve it, we would say that the purple one is older than the new one. So we can say older, especially based on what the question is. So we can then say that the red one is newer than the old one or than the purple one. And as you can see, when we are comparing two people, two place, let's say two things, right? Because we're only comparing two, then we end, let's say our word ends in er, older, right? But if we're comparing more than two people, animals, places, or things, then our word is going to end in est. And then we said we have the superlative adjectives, right, which compares more than two people, animals, places, or things, and they end in est. For example, he is the tallest person in his class. So which means that we're not just comparing him to someone else, we are comparing him to the whole class. And if we look at it as this example, it says if we were to say which one is bigger, right? This is not comparing two, let's say, animals. If we were to say which one is bigger, and if they were to ask which one is bigger, we were going to identify the black one, and then we will say this one is bigger. So we can either say it is bigger than the small one, or we can just say it is bigger, which means that that smaller or little one is not bigger, right? It is smaller. And we said he is the tallest person in his class, right? All right. So we're going to now compare these pictures, right? So we need to say which one is smaller. Is it A, the purple one, or B, the big orange truck? So if we were to say which one is smaller, we would have been, we said that the purple one is smaller than the bigger one. Yes, well done. So the purple one is smaller. Which one is more fatter? Which one is fatter? The first or the last one, right? So if we say which one is fatter, we're going to choose the top one. So which one is louder? Is it a kitty cat or is it a lion? So which one is louder? A kitty cat or a lion? We need to say which one is louder. So if we say which one is louder, yes, and then we're going to say it is the lion that is louder. So the lion is louder than the kitty cat. So we need to say which one is smaller. Which one is smaller? And if we say which one is smaller, we're going to choose the first one and identify a tiny small bird. So once again, we need to say which one is smaller. The top one or the big one at the bottom. And yeah, the purple and blue bird. So well done, that is correct. Which one is faster? Faster. So we need to say which one is faster. And if we choose the one that is faster, yeah, but so then we say the sheep is the fastest. So the sheep is faster. And then last one, if we look at the two, right? Do you think riding a bicycle or walking is much more faster? So which one is faster, the one on the bicycle or the one that's walking? And yes, we will, if somebody's on a bicycle, then it means that you are a bit faster. All right. So we need to say which one is warmer. The first one has got that covers the ears, the back, and then we have the second one, which is more like a fancy peak. Not even a peak, a fancy winter cap. So which one is warmer? Is the first one or that second beanie? All right. And then we can say which one is warmer. We can say it's the first one. So we need to say which one is warmer. Yes. So which means that the yellow cap or the first one, that is the cap that shows it's going to be a bit warmer. So now we need to say which one is higher of these air balloons. First one or the second one? The one that is higher. And if we compare, let's say to more, two or more people, right? Then we call that the superlative adjective. But if we are only comparing to one another, two people, right? And then we can say one is higher than the other. And if we say which one is bigger, and then we go with the first one. And if we say which one is bigger, if we say which one is bigger, and if we say which one is bigger, then we're going to choose that black dog that looks very scared. So that one is bigger than our sausage poodle dog there. And which one is hotter? Is it the fire? And if we say which one is hotter, Then let's choose the campfire. And the campfire is hotter. And if we say which one is fatter, we'll say the first one is fatter. So which one is older? And if we choose which one is older, we'll go to the second option, right? Remember we said we are doing the comparison adjective, right? The adjective that compares. So which means that if you're comparing yourself to another person or thing, right? So it ends in ER. Which one is lighter? And if we think we know which one is lighter, let's go with the second one. I think so. And it is. So and which one is shorter? We'll say it's the top one, the first priority one. And we said that if we see which one is taller or longer, let's say longer or shorter basically of the ropes, and then we say it's the top one, the first one. So the first one is correct. Because that one is shorter than the other one. All right, so we're now going to identify the comparative and superlative adjective. And we said that with comparative adjectives, we compare two people, to animals, to places, things, or, and it ends in ER. That is if we are comparing it, right? For example, Andy is taller than his sister. And yet it says we need to find the adjective that compares, right? And it says, that's the shortest story in the book. That's the shortest story in the book. What is the adjective that compare within that sentence? That's the shortest story in the book. And we see that we compare it, right? And it ends in ER. But if we compare one to more than one person, animal, place, or thing, so once again, we see that some adjectives they compare people, animals, places, or things. And comparative adjectives is when you're comparing yourself to something else. It's like two people that you're comparing. And you compare two people, animals, places, or things. And if we look at the sentence, it says, that's the shortest story in my book. Right? So that is comparative adjectives when there is, for example, two people that is being compared. And we said that's the shortest story in the book. Shortest. And we say that some adjectives they compare people, animals, places, or things. And we said some adjectives they just compare people, animal, places, or things. And when it comes to comparative adjectives, right, then it means that you're only comparing to people, animals, places, or things. And if we look at the sentence, it says, that's the story, that's the shortest story in the book. So we say that we are comparing these two, right? So since we know this one, we say that's the shortest story in the book is And we say that if we find the adjective, right, and we say that these adjectives that compare, if we're going to be quoting, if we're going to start counting, and then tomorrow, the day after, they need to still check it. So we still have comparative adjectives, right, which compares five, basically the all of the pictures that's still at home, right? And we said that when it comes to adjectives, we said that we have the like adjectives that's comparing, right? That compare, which is all right. So lastly, we said that we have compared either two people, to animals, to places or things, and we call it comparative adjective, or we compare more than two people, animals, places, or things, right? And we call that superlative adjectives. All right, so we did adjectives that compare, and we said that when we compare adjectives, we have comparative adjectives and we have superlative adjectives. And the comparison adjectives, it compares two people, animal, places, or things. And the superlative adjective compares more than two people, animal, places, or things. All right, so that is now the end of our lessons, grade one. Thank you very much for joining the class. Till next time, have a good day further. Goodbye. And if we go to the first one, which is compare pictures using comparative and superlative. All right.